Hey, what's going on? Oh man, today was not bad at all because I'm in good health. I'm feeling fine. I was watching something with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was saying I think it's my power steering leaking out. Joe Rogan was saying to some woman, the woman was saying to Joe Rogan. Wait a minute. I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So Joe Rogan, the lady was saying to Joe Rogan, people that are suffering from depression, a lot of them is going through a thing called rumination, where they keep thinking over and over again. I've spoken on this exhaustively on my podcast. And what a new style of therapist tries to do, instead of prescribing you medication, is to try to get your mind off of stuff. And Joe Rogan pointed out to the lady that was talking, people that are living in war zones, they don't have time to sit down and ruminate and think about, who they broke up with, think about their relationship foolishness, think about what their spouse is doing and all this. Well, I'm pretty sure they still do that because people are just jealous. But for the most part, they don't have time to sit down. If they're in a conflict, if there's an ongoing conflict, they don't have time for that. If there's an ongoing strife, they don't have time to sit down and think about what was and what could be and what all this other blah, blah, blah. They're trying to save their lives. At least that's how we were. But I think human beings are very much subdued now. And even in the face of danger, sometimes we don't know how to react. Our fight or flight response is definitely subdued. Especially if we're having significant amounts of erectile dysfunction and significant amounts of female sexual dysfunction, which is part of the nervous, sympathetic, and parasympathetic nervous system responses and all of that. We're having people with, like they already told you, varicose veins is associated with it, angina is associated with it, with your valves in your circulatory system not working right because people are not exercising, they're not running, they're not jumping, they're not getting their heart rate up. We're not getting our heart rate up. I didn't want to say they, I say we, because I am just as a guilty participant in being sedentary as anyone else. And I feel like our fight or flight response is not there. But, we're relying very much more on our higher brain functions, which is a good thing, which kind of keeps us peaceful in a sense. I think you can still maintain some peace and still maintain your humanity and still maintain your animal instincts. There must be some way, I would hope there's some way to strike a balance and achieve both things simultaneously, so you can be a totally whole, a whole person, you know what I mean? Like a whole person that functions in every way, Just hold on, I need to get some oil. Yes, so as I was saying, Joe Rogan was, showing that, when we put things in perspective, some of this depression seems to be a manifestation of our sedentary and luxurious lifestyles. Obesity is a side effect of an abundance of food. We have so much food security, thank God, that we can totally indulge and get as much calories as we need and more, right? So it's tragic. And I don't know if this is even worthy of publishing because I don't have a point that I can translate this to sauce on delay regarding hair products or health. Maybe I can. So, we have a lot of conveniences. We have a lot of advances in science and technology that make life more convenient. We have advances in medicine that extend life and preserve health and restore health and restore abilities and, restore mobility. We got prosthesis. We have, like endoscopic surgery. We have all kinds of technology that makes life so much better now. But somehow, we're at a stage where what I'm reading is something like 50% of Americans have a chronic disease. So, and I was having a conversation with someone the other day. What their issue was, it wasn't a chronic disease. They were working in an environment that was very stressful. So they asked the human resources to move them to somewhere else, right? So during the time when they were under stress, their hair was falling out, right? So I spoke to them the other day, and they said, they don't understand how I could work for the employer or the boss that I work for, the supervisor that I work for, because it's so stressful there. And I said, I didn't really have any solution for them because, I wouldn't encourage anyone to work in an abusive environment. But, and that's partially why I said today was not a bad day, because my boss was berating me today. And then I needed some help from someone, and then that person started to interrogate me because they wanted to control, just control me overall, so I'm saying. So they weren't able, they I guess they ultimately helped me, and reluctantly, and under a whole bunch of I don't know what to call it, manipulation attempts and all that. But what I said to myself was that, and I keep saying this to myself, I can't let my cortisol level go up. I'm hearing things like, I'm hearing things online like one moment of anger, throws off your cortisol for the rest of the week. You know what I mean? So this fight or flight response that we have is something that's very powerful, and it floods your body with stress hormones. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to keep my hair. So we did bring it right back to sauce on delay, because too much stress will make your hair fall out. So the person said their hair was falling out. So guess what they did? They went to the doctor, they went to the dermatologist, and started getting shots in their scalp. I don't know what the shot was, but it's some kind of, I don't know what it was. I didn't pry, but they started getting shots. And then they said that, their hair started growing back. But I said to them, it seems like your hair would have grew back if you just removed yourself from the stressful environment. Excuse my car. It seems like your hair would have grown back if you just removed yourself from the stressful environment. So while the doctor is definitely, I guess is trying to help you, they're not really always on the ball to the level where they're going to be able to holistically diagnose what the whole situation is and what the cause is. So they just treat the symptoms for the most part. They know that there's a hormone imbalance at your scalp, so they gave you a shot under your scalp. This hormone imbalance that's causing that hasn't changed. It's still there. The stress is still there, which is the cause, but the doctor is not necessarily assessing it from that perspective, or the doctor can't treat that. So all he can do is give you a Band-Aid and say, if nothing changes, come back again, I'll give you another shot. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's what was prescribed to the person, but I've known at least 2 people who have lost hair due to stress. I know one guy, his girlfriend left him, and he was feeling real down about it. He also had like some issues going on with his business, and then he developed a ball patch in his head. He had some other legal issues going on too. He developed a ball patch in his head. All these things came around the same time, and by all appearances, he seemed to be holding everything together, but his body physically was responding. Him intellectually, he was driving his body to continue to operate as if everything's fine. Excuse me. You never hear anybody sneeze on a podcast, right? So he was trying to maintain a stiff upper lip and a good facade, and it seemed as if everything was okay. But he developed a patch in his head. He went to the doctor. Doctor again prescribed medication for a stress-related issue. That bald spot eventually went away when he fully came to grips and coped and dealt with the issues that were ultimately causing his hair loss. I think these things, if it's momentary, I think your hair can recover, from my observation, because his hair came back. The other person at my job, their hair came back. But there's some people who they're sustaining the stress for years, and the hair doesn't really come back. It has a hard time. It has a much harder time coming back after sustained trauma. In my opinion, I would call it almost trauma. But yeah, the stress is a real dangerous thing, and your mindset is a dangerous thing, or a powerful thing, or a good thing. So repetitive negative thoughts. And I maybe spoke about this before. There's a guy that was around my neighborhood. He had an old car once. No, he didn't give me the car. The other guy gave me the car. But he used to be right at the bus stop where I catch the bus. And I used to see him outside sometimes while he was still working. He was like a security guard. So, he wasn't getting proper sleep. Eating junk food probably. All kind of stuff like that. So, older man, retired probably. I don't know, maybe in his 60s or so. Just retired, got his house, all that. His family lived in the house. So he met some lady who was maybe like, I don't know, 20 years his junior. And he kept telling me the story about he rented a U-Haul and went down to Delaware and picked her up and brought her to New York and so on and so on and so forth. And then she left him for another guy. And almost every time I saw him after that situation happened, he kept telling me, "Oh, she left me. She left me." Telling me the same story over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, not one day, not 2 days, not 3 days, not 4 days, not 5 days. And I didn't see him every day. There would be maybe a week, sometimes maybe 3 days, 4 days, 2 days between when I would see him. But he would keep telling me the same story. He kept replaying the same thought over and over again, the same negative, depressive thought over and over again. I mean, you got a few options in that situation. You can look at that as liberation and not a depressing thing, and just what they call it, chalk it up to the game and say, charge it to the game. She wanted to move on, and that's it. Yeah, you spent money on her, whatever. So what? That's the end of that. Preserve yourself, keep going. But instead, he kind of delved down into that, and sometimes people enjoy the dopamine. Well, not the dopamine. Enjoy the chemical. It seems like we enjoy the chemical that's released when we think depressive and negative thoughts. Sometimes it seems to link back to, I don't know, somehow it seems to be linked to our reward centers sometimes. And as a result of that, eventually he died. Right? And I said to myself, you know what? I gotta look at that. I gotta pay attention to that and make sure that I never get into a rut like that. You know what I mean? Never get into a funk like that. So today I had some very minor first world problem issues with people. I don't really like office politics bother me. Some very minor issues with people. Very minor in the scope of things, in the scope of Ukraine, Congo, and other war zones. And I said, today is a good day. You gotta think positive. Listen, tomorrow is gonna be another day. Tomorrow is gonna be another day. You're gonna get another chance. And you're gonna bounce back. And you're gonna do your thing. Or not. But if you keep going, eventually you get to where you need to go to, But you gotta work at it, and you can't wallow in the negative thoughts. The negative thoughts aren't really gonna help you. Worrying is not gonna help you. Deal with action. Oh, and that's one thing that they said on the Joe Rogan podcast with the lady. She said, running errands is one way to help you to get out of that funk and get out of that rut of rumination and negative thoughts. So staying busy is very important. Some people stay busy so much they don't even know what they're doing sometimes. You know what I mean? I think I've done that in the past. Sometimes I like to go out in the yard and just start working and just start moving stuff around without aimlessly, just moving stuff around aimlessly in my backyard. I got so much mess there. I have that luxury of stuff to fix, So get yourself busy, find a project, and stay positive and try to release things and let go of things. Listen, our ego is a very big thing that we need, but at the same time, it can also sink you. You know what I mean? You go out in these ghetto environments that I've lived in where people skipping you in the line on the bus, people, staring you down or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you got to look away. Sometimes you got to let them skip you. Or you just let them skip you and you just look away. What's this? If you engage them, it's going to be a problem. And it feels like an egocentric loss where you're like, they punked me or they skipped me or whatever. But there's a demonic energy also behind that, but I can't really get into that. I don't fully understand it. But if you can let the hate build up in you and poison your own body. The negative thoughts poisoning your body. When the person at my job lost their hair, they were poisoning their own body with their stress response. When my friend, or my cousin I should say, lost a patch of hair. Well, I said a guy before, but he's my cousin. He lost a patch of hair. He was poisoning his own body with his stressful thoughts. When the old man died prematurely, he was stressing himself unnecessarily. Stressing himself and poisoning his own body. So, just like they say, anger is the poison you drink for something that someone else did wrong. So, hey, free yourself. Thanks for listening. That's it.